Dr. Christina Chester, and welcome again to our MCPS video series, Waymaking. Our goal is to help families make their way through many of the emotional challenges we are faced with today. I have with me today Heather Gomes, Executive Director of People, Animals, Love, or PAL. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Chester.
All right, so my first question of today is, so what is the mission of PAL and what does PAL do?
Well, PAL was founded 40 years ago by an early pioneer in the field of human-animal interactions, Dr. Earl Strimple, who is still on our board of directors today. From the start, PAL's mission has been to use the human-animal bond as a way to support people and enrich people's lives, especially to comfort those who are lonely, ease the pain of those who are sick, and enrich the lives of children. When PAL got started in 1982, there was a focus on serving seniors, those who were socially isolated or institutionalized, children and adults with disabilities, and incarcerated persons. Our vision is to make the world a better place for humans and other animals by connecting animals and people in helpful, healing ways. What we're most known for is our in-person dog visiting program, the PAL Dogs, who are, of course, accompanied by their human companions, the PAL volunteers, aka handlers. Together, they are dog and handler teams. PAL teams visit people all over the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area in schools, universities, hospitals, long-term care facilities, retirement homes, and hospice, mental and behavioral health facilities, correctional facilities, and homeless shelters, to name the most common. PAL also has an on-screen visiting program, which originated during the pandemic, but is here to stay. It's basically animals visiting over Zoom with their people, and not just dogs, but cats, guinea pigs, and other animal companions who reside with our volunteers. So our on-screen volunteers and their pets listen to and encourage children while they read, and they talk with seniors who have memory loss, often sparking joyful memories for these seniors of the animal companions with whom they have shared their lives.
Oh, thank you for that. And so then what are some of the benefits of interacting with therapy dogs? And how does PAL support students and staff in our schools in MCPS?
Yes, I love to talk about the benefits. So allow me to define a few terms so I can place the work we do in context. The interactions between PAL teams and the people with whom they visit are called animal-assisted activities, or more broadly, animal-assisted interventions. These terms don't roll off the tongue, so often we just say visits by PAL dogs for our in-person visits. Under the umbrella of animal-assisted interventions, there is animal-assisted therapy, which is delivered and or directed by a formally trained professional, for example, a psychologist or social worker with expertise within the scope of the professional's practice. PAL visits are primarily animal-assisted activities, which are planned and goal-oriented informal interactions and visitations, like the meet and greet in a nursing home or most of our school visits. And they are conducted by the human-animal team for motivational, educational, and recreational purposes. Studies have found that human-animal interactions trigger the release of oxytocin, sometimes called the love hormone, in our brains, with all the positive effects that cascade from that. Interactions with a dog, for example, can lower your blood pressure, decrease anxiety, reduce feelings of loneliness, reduce perceptions of pain even, a new study shows, and the list goes on. There is a new study out of the University of Lincoln in the UK showing that dog-assisted interventions can lead to significantly lower stress in school children, school children with and without special educational needs. So the study examined levels of cortisol, a stress hormone, in saliva. There was a dog group, a relaxation meditation group, and a control group. In the dog group, participants interacted for 20 minutes with a trained dog and handler. Sessions were carried out twice a week for 4 weeks. School children in the control and relaxation groups had increases in levels of cortisol, so more stress accumulating over the course of the school term. However, children who participated in either group or individual sessions with dogs had no statistically significant increase in cortisol. And the New York Times recently shined a light on that study, so you may have heard about it. PAL dogs and handlers are truly a positive presence for students and school staff. Someone may be going through a particularly hard time or having a really hard day, and a visit from a PAL dog and handler helps them feel better, plain and simple. It helps them de-stress, but animals are also grounding. They help us live in the present moment, remind us how lovable we are. They're non-judgmental. They can elicit smiles, almost always elicit smiles and laughter, and simply by being present with us, we feel seen and heard. And these are all positive things for our mental health.
No, thank you for the information. I know we have a school psychologist that has a therapy dog at her middle school, and I know that the kids love it when Cozy Girl shows up. So we definitely understand, and all the times your group is here helping us with our crisis response. I know like the kids and the staff both love to see the dogs, and I can see the oxycodone, the love hormones going out, and people love it. So yes, definitely. And so my next question is, so what else would you like to share about our PAL visits or about animal-assisted interventions in general?
Thank you. Yes, I'll share a few things. First, I want to point out the dedication, compassion, and generosity of our human volunteers. So the PAL dogs get all the attention and credit, but the human handlers are just as important, and they really invest a lot of time with dog training and socialization, and of course, educating themselves so that they can be the best and safest dog and handler team they can be. So they may show up for an hour. A typical PAL visit is an hour long, but that may take 3 hours out of a volunteer's day, including preparation and travel. And many of our volunteers visit several times a week. We are a leanly staffed organization, so we also rely on volunteer team members to help us manage communications and logistics for hundreds of recurring visits. Volunteers help us onboard new sites, our partners in the community, like the schools where we do visits, and they help us onboard new volunteers. They also provide coaching, training, evaluations, and much more. Second, I'd like to let you know that one of PAL's core values is honoring the mutuality of the human-animal bond in this very human-centric field. So it's about reciprocity, and we only ask our animals to do this work with us if it's something they enjoy and they benefit from. We talk a lot about being your dog's advocate. This means putting the physical and emotional well-being of our dogs first. And to do that, we have to learn how dogs communicate, learn their stress signals. Our handlers are always observing their dogs to see if they're enjoying the visit. When we get a visit request, we always consider the visit from the animal's point of view. We ask the host site to help us plan and structure a visit with the dog's welfare in mind. So for example, not a noisy, crowded scene, which a PAL dog might tolerate. They like to please people, but they may not enjoy it. And we like a small ratio of participants to dogs, ideally. Finally, I'd like to let you know we are building a resource library that will be helpful for our schools and other host sites, our handlers, and for the general public. So if you go to our website, www.peopleanimalslove.org, you'll see some resources and links. We have one, for example, called Tips for a Successful School Visit, and that's drawn from the work of a research team at the University of Lincoln in the UK.
Oh, thank you for that. And thank you for the website and those tips. And so my last question is, do you have any suggestions or feedback for families and students to help them to stay resilient during this time?
Sure, I can tell you how I take care of my mental health, and it might resonate with some people. perhaps not surprisingly, spending time with my animal companions, I have 2 dogs right now, is one way I take care of myself. I find that it helps me relax, just be in the present moment, be silly and smile and laugh. Spending time outside is very therapeutic for me. I'm always in awe of the beauty of nature, and I love walking my dogs because it combines both of these things, dogs and nature, plus I get exercise. Music and dancing are big for me, and I lean on my friends and my spouse for emotional support, and they're really wonderful at listening and helping me process my thoughts and feelings. And those times when I've been really overwhelmed with life, I've sought out a therapist. For example, when I was consumed with grief, when my dog Skipjack died, after my mother passed away, talking to a mental health professional was really helpful for me. And of course, during those times, I leaned on the animals in my life for support too. So I would say too, if you can, if you don't already have an animal companion in your home, if you can welcome one into your life, adopt an animal from a shelter, they'll bring you so much joy, and vice versa. So they may one day become a pal dog if you adopt a dog, or they may not. But either way, they're the best dog ever, and they're going to enrich your life in so many ways.
No, thank you. And I'm sure so many members of our audience, can relate, to having that animal companion and the things that they do, at home and outside and so forth. And it brings them great joy. And so thank you, Heather, for your time to be with us today. And we always want to thank our viewers for joining us for Waymaking. To send us additional questions and topics to discuss on the show, please visit the link on your screen. Also, please go to our YouTube playlist to find additional shows in our series. And please join us next time on MCPS Waymaking.